Imagine you wake up one day and you can't walk. You can't move your back at all. You go to the doctor's office and they tell you they can give you a shot, and within hours you'll be up and walking again. That shot would likely contain stem cells. Stem cells are an amazing medical advancement and can hold the keys to quick recoveries from serious injuries and diseases. After learning about stem cells one day while listening to my favorite podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, I was immediately intrigued. As an athlete who has been forced to miss part of the season before due to an injury, the idea of being given one shot and recovering is something that is extremely intriguing. Today we'll look at exactly what stem cells are, the several different kinds of stem cells, where they come from, and then take a look at some notable people who have used stem cells to speed up their recoveries. What are stem cells? Stem cells are specific cells that doctors can inject into your other cells to help promote an extremely fast recovery or cell regeneration. Most of the time, stem cells are what professionals will call mother cells. They are called this because they have the ability to adapt to the cells around themselves and then multiply themselves. These are characteristics of all stem cells. Dr. Anya Madal of newsmedical.net states, there are different sources of stem cells, but all types of stem cells have the same capacity to develop into multiple types of cells. So if we know what stem cells are and that they work all the same, we should know what the different kinds of stem cells are. First, we have embryonic stem cells. It is one of the two main types of stem cells along with adult stem cells. The newest type of stem cells coming out are known as induced pluripotent stem cells, or iPSCs. These are produced in a lab by reprogramming adult stem cells to look like embryonic stem cells. 3 to 5 days after an egg cell is fertilized by sperm, a small hollow ball known as a blastocyst is formed. This blastocyst is about the same size as the dot of that eye. Actually, it's much smaller than that. It's about the same size as a dot of your eye on 12-point font in Times New Roman. I should make that smaller. Okay. This is where embryonic stem cells are formed. Embryonic stem cells are extremely valuable because they are pluripotent. This means they can give a rise to every single cell inside the human body besides a embryonic sac and a umbilical cord. Adult stem cells are far less controversial, yet they are not nearly as efficient. Adult stem cells are not pluripotent, thus they can only be used to regenerate a few kinds of cells. The most popular use for adult stem cells are blood-forming or hematophic stem cells in the bone marrow, which can give rise to red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. The most recent discovery in the field of stem cells are induced pluripotent stem cells, or iPSCs. They are made in a laboratory setting by using tissue-specific cells such as skin cells and then converting them into pluripotent cells. While iPSCs may seem like the best of both worlds, there are some issues with them. The medical community is still in disagreement in how the human body will react to iPSCs. At the moment, they are not being used for patients, but for disease research. Such an amazing treatment sounds quite pricey. And if we take a look at some of the people that have used them, I think it's safe to say it is quite expensive. Internet celebrity and professional poker player Dan Bilzerian tells his story of how his use of stem cells aided his recovery on his back issues. On the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, he tells how he woke up one day and could not walk, flew down to Mexico that next day, and was injected with stem cells. The day after that, he said he was back to 100% and even weight training later that week. 3-time Pro Bowler Chris Johnson is a notable personality that has used stem cells to aid his recovery. After tearing his meniscus, Chris Johnson visited Dr. James Andrews, a very well-known sports doctor in California. Dr. Andrews suggested stem cells, and he also handled the actual procedure for Mr. Johnson. When asked about the procedure, Dr. James said, instead of taking a year and a half in order to get well, maybe we can cut that down in half. We have an old saying, you can't bargain with Mother Nature. The biologics, the stem cells, therapy is the revolution that may change that. Stem cells, most commonly embryonic stem cells, are more recently induced proponent stem cells, are specific cells that can be injected into one's body to rapidly decrease the amount of time it would take to recover from an injury. Hundreds of professional athletes have taken advantage of this amazing technology, as well as famous people that we see every day. If you remember playing video games as a kid, recovering from an injury or any loss of health was normal and easy by injecting yourself with a quick shot or running around and finding a health pack. With continued research in the science field behind the use of stem cells, this could quite possibly be the way we're headed.